For our latest installment of Ask Steve, we talk about all kinds of different stuff. We talk about Airbnb. Kind of started to change my thinking on whether or not we're even going to keep the Airbnb, believe it or not. We'll break that down in a couple minutes. But the first couple that we're going to talk about have to do with the current market. Getting a lot of questions about the current market, all the intricacies of the market. Ask Steve, you asked, we answer. Let's do this. How's everybody doing? This is Steve, real estate agent with the Malone Home team here at EXP in the North Georgia area, North Atlanta area. So I want to start by saying, if you would not mind, liking the video, giving us a follow. It just helps us out with the SEO, helps us get found out there in that crazy internet world, in the interwebs, and just keeps the ball rolling. So like, follow if you would not mind, and if you would mind, then I just beg anyway. So there you go. All right, Ask Steve. We put this out there. We asked some questions. We got some really good questions today. So we want to talk about those. Some of them were sent in specifically by people through our social media channels. Some of them we just get a lot. So we're going to answer 4 questions. We're going to keep it quick. We're going to rock and roll. We're going to get in, get out. Nobody gets hurt. 4 questions. One of them has nothing to do with real estate, and it was actually a really cool question. Didn't expect it. It has to do with me being Catholic. One of my buddies asked the question. I said, hey, ask Steve. Ask me anything, I'll answer it. And here we are. But we're going to start out. Let's talk about some real estate. Let's talk about some of the stuff going on in the world of real estate right now. Here we go. The number 1 question we got for Ask Steve. All right, I want to say thank you to Heath for sending in this question. So he sends in the question basically saying, is it a common practice now to use price negotiation to buy down the rate and not use it to lessen the purchase price? So basically, is it more common to use some of that money to, that we can get from the seller to purchase down the rate, or do we just ask for a price drop? What's more common right now? So right now, as we record this, October of 2023, the beginning of October, interest rates are super crazy right now, and mortgage rates, mid to upper 7s right now. So a lot of people are doing that. They're buying down their rate with some of the money that they're getting from the seller. Here's the deal. The rates are probably going to be going down as we head into next year, definitely into 2025. I think they'll be back in the 5s. And a lot of people are just chewing on the rate right now, and they're just dealing with it, and then they'll refi down the road, and they'll take the money off the purchase price. So that way they have a cheaper house now. Some other loan people, they're offering what's called a 2-1 buy down, or a 1-year buy down, where basically 2-1 buy down is for the first year they buy your with using seller concessions, they can buy the rate down 1% for the first year, or 2% for the first year, 1% for the second year. So that's a 2-1 buy down. So, and they take that money from the seller concessions, they put it into an escrow account, and basically that gets paid out. And then even if you refi, let's say in 6 months, you still get all the money out of the escrow account. So all the money that you negotiated, you'd still get it. The reality of the situation is, and it's a great program, I like it a lot. The reality of the situation is just money goes into an escrow account to help pay your mortgage. So, you can just negotiate. Instead of getting like a 2-1 buy down that costs $10,000 and goes into an escrow account or whatever, you can just say, hey, I'd like to get $10,000 extra closing costs. And you could negotiate it that way, and you hold on to it in your savings account, and you can do with it however you want. You could do it that way too. I always say every situation is different. So you got to put everything into a spreadsheet and say, all right, and look for the first 3 or 4 years. Yes, it's grunt work. It stinks. I don't, personally, I like doing it. I like spreadsheets. I like plugging numbers and taking a look at what makes the most sense. But, as I look forward, I think in 2 years, the rates are going to be going down. I'm all about whatever you have to do to get in the house now, refi down the road, because the houses are going to be so much more cheaper now than they're going to be in 2 years because of everything that's going on. We'll talk about that more in the next question. So what makes the most sense? What's the more prevalent thing? I see a lot of people do a lot of different things. People are very price conscious on rate. To me, what do I say to you? I say for you, throw that bad boy into a spreadsheet and what makes the most sense. Talk to your loan officer. We've got a couple awesome loan officers that we work with. They can walk you through it too and say, if you just go in regular, this is going to be your rate, this is going to be your payment. If you buy down the rate a little bit, like for the life of the loan, it'll be this much. That may not make sense. Maybe you get 2-1 buy down, it would be this much if we can get the concessions. If you don't get the concessions, you just put the money into a savings account and you pay it yourself, it will be that. They'll run all the scenarios for you. To me, I think that's the best answer for you is you look and see what makes the most sense for you financially. And really, you have to put it into a spreadsheet. But at the end of the day, I think the rates are going to be going down over the next couple of years. Okay. They're in the mid upper sevens right now. They're pretty high right now. Probably higher than I thought that they were going to be right now. Probably higher than they should be right now. I think that they're artificially high. I don't know why. That's me saying it. Don't at me. That's just my thought. But they're going to be coming down. I think they're going to be in the upper sixes by the end of the year. I still think that they're going to be in the low sixes by the end of next year and the fives by the time we get to 25. That's the plan right now, subject to change based on what's going on in the market. But that's the thought right now. All kinds of different stuff going on, all kinds of unique solutions. Talk to your realtor. If you don't have a realtor, you do now. Give us a call. We'll talk you through the process. We'll have our lenders talk to you through the process and figure out what makes the most sense for you. Because that, at the end of the day, that's what's most prevalent right now. What's most prevalent right now is people got to come up with crazy solutions. Okay, this is not as straightforward of a market as it was 2 years ago. So people got to come up with different solutions. That's what we're doing right now. That's what's most prevalent. All right, so question number 2, and we get this from a lot of people. We see it all over YouTube. This probably deserves a 1-hour YouTube. I'm going to give you as short of an answer as I possibly can, but we see it from everybody. When's the market going to crash? Okay. And this piggybacks off the last thing we just talked about. And I'm just going to lay it out. Okay. Since the 07-08 recession, okay, that everybody still remembers, it was crazy. Okay. And the values of homes crashed. There were a lot of foreclosures. It was just, there were no buyers. It was just crazy in the market. One of the things that came out of that was the fact that new construction really halted a lot for a good at least 10 years. With it halting for about that 10-year period, we did not build enough houses in the nation to keep up with what we do on average. On average, we build a certain number of houses every year. Okay, we were well below that for a good 10 years. Okay, and even as we were coming out of it close to the pandemic shut that down again. We're way behind. For that reason, right now we have a huge lack of housing. Even though every time I live in Gwinnett, every time I turn around in Gwinnett, they have knocked a tree down and put down 17 townhomes. Okay, every time I turn around. Even with all the building that we have right now, we're still behind, way behind nationwide where we're supposed to be. Okay. This is supply and demand. Supply is low. Low, low, low. Okay. Now, demand, it's there. It's not as crazy as it was, but here's the problem. When you talk about houses that are on the market, because of the rate disparity, because the rates are so high right now, they're in the mid-upper sevens. Everybody's got a rate below 4%. 70% of homeowners who have a mortgage are below 7%, below 4%. 70% are below 4%. Okay, I think 90% are below 6. Just about everybody's got a super low rate, and they don't want to go to 7.5, 7.75. For that reason, they're not moving. So there's very low supply. Okay, so not only is there a low supply of new houses coming and whatever, but there's also a low supply of existing homes that are on the market right now. Okay, so yes, the demand is lower because there's fewer buyers, but the supply is even lower because nobody wants to move. That's going to change when we get into the spring. When we get into the spring, and the rates come down, a lot more buyers are going to jump in. A lot of sellers are going to jump in because they want to move up in house. But here's the thing. There's a thing that people aren't adding. And I saw somebody talk about this yesterday. About this, it's exactly right. If somebody's selling their house, everybody's thinking, oh, okay, well, that's going to add whatever to the market. Here's the thing. They're selling their house to buy a house. They're moving up in house or moving down in house, whatever, okay? They're selling their house to buy a house. They jump on the market, it's a net neutral to the market because they're going to buy one of the houses. What we need are people selling their house to go rent or a new construction to step up and really bring a whole lot of stuff but we're not getting enough houses on the market to replenish the number of houses that are on the market to get it to be more of a balanced market. It's going to be a seller's market for a while, okay? If it's a seller's market, market's not going to crash. It's been a seller's market for a very long time. It's going to be a seller's market for a very long time here in North Georgia. Are there pockets in the country where the prices have come down over the last year and a half? Absolutely. Here in North Georgia, we're pretty insulated from that. Okay, because people come here, home prices are a little bit more stable here. There's no market crash coming. There's no economic forces coming right now. Do I think that the balloon's super inflated right now? Heck yeah, that balloon's super inflated. Okay. Unfortunately, we got a long ways to go, a lot more air to put in that balloon. I hope it doesn't pop like crazy, because if it pops like crazy, it's going to be crazy. But it's a long time from now. So I don't know what the final solution is. I don't know what it's going to look like in the end. I know what's going to lay out for the next 3 to 5 years. The next 3 to 5 years, there's not a crash coming. Now, that being said, something crazy could happen. You get another pandemic, we get into a war, something like catastrophic like that happens, and all bets are off. Things change. Okay. Obviously, the pandemic was not expected. Things change because of the pandemic. It is what it is. Okay. So something like that could happen. But all things being equal, looking forward, I just don't see the market crashing here in North Georgia. I could be wrong. I'd say 95% likelihood. It's just not going to happen right now. That's what it looks like going forward. You have questions, let me know. But to me, everybody's saying, when's it going to crash? Your guess is as good as mine. It's not in the next 3 to 5 years. All right, question 3. I get this from a lot of people about our Airbnb. We talk about that on our channel. So I'll put a link below to the playlist for our Airbnb channel. Just talking about some of the stuff about our short-term rental. I call it our Airbnb. It's a short-term rental. We rent it on Airbnb, rent it on VRBO, stuff like that. People always say, "How's it going?" This and that, da, da, da. And like I'm very gung ho about real estate as a vehicle to build wealth. Okay. I'm very gung-ho about the fact that it is a very smart vehicle from a tax perspective, from the amount of money that you generate off of it perspective, how much it appreciates over time. When you add everything up, it's a fantastic vehicle to build wealth. Okay, that won't change. Finally, for the first time since we've had it, because of everything that's going on, things are not quite as busy up there. Home prices, have not gone up there as much as I would have wanted them to. I still think that, if we sold today, we still make money on the deal. My issue that I have right now with it is twofold. So number one is we're self-managing it, okay, because there's just not enough meat on the bone to have somebody else manage it, because I don't want to pay somebody else to manage it. And it's good to learn from our standpoint, from the YouTube standpoint, from the realtor standpoint, because that way somebody can ask me a question and I'll know the answer. So it's a really cool learning experience for me. But as we look at it right now, and I look at myself in my business where I am right now, we've just hired a couple of agents onto our team. We're looking to do some massive growth over the next couple of years, and we really have things in line right now to lay out that are going to lead us to some massive growth in the next 3 years, to really build this team, really change some lives of the people of our team. That's my goal. That's really where my passion lies right now. Okay. This takes time away from that. Okay. Now, my wife could do this on the side, but we have 6 kids with number 7 on the way. Okay. Life is crazy in Malonetown. Okay. You can come over any day and we'll show you. It's crazy in Malonetown. I didn't really mean that. But she doesn't really have time to deal with this. I like dealing with it, but that's my problem, is I like dealing with it. Every time I deal with it, it takes away from my main focus, which is building the team. So right now, for a long time, it was the juice was worth the squeeze because it was still building equity. We were still getting enough people in there, things like that. Now that I think that from an economic standpoint, I think the economy is starting to slow a little bit. We're not getting as many people renting as we were. Okay, I'm seeing that a lot from Airbnb, whether that's people slowing down or too many Airbnbs on the market, things like that. So for that reason, really over this last couple of weeks, it was the first time since we bought it that I really thought about, maybe springtime, if things don't turn around, we may kind of call it on the rental. And so I'm going to update that as we go, and I'll probably do a deeper dive on the next episode. Just kind of talking about, kind of my pain points with running the Airbnb, because it's not all sunshine and rainbows and unicorns, and butterflies. There are warts to this thing. So, and I expected them. There are a few more warts than I expected. It's not as glamorous as I expected it to be. They're just all stuff like that. So that's something that we're going to be looking at as we head into the springtime. How does the market look? Are we maybe over the next couple of months, we just go gangbusters and really start renting that place out and things are going great. And it just becomes easier. We come up with some new tools that help to automate everything, and we can let that thing just run itself so I can focus on the team. In the long term, does buying an Airbnb or a short-term rental, does it make sense? Yes. Our issue, and we've talked about this in some of the other episodes, is I leveraged a lot of money to purchase this, as far as like using a home equity loan on our house to purchase this. I would not suggest that for everybody. Okay, it's a risk. I'm big on I'll take the swing. Okay, it's equity that's just sitting there. I'm gonna take the swing on it. That being said, it is a loan, and I need to make X amount of money to make everything work. Okay, and if we're not getting enough people, we're having to pay a lot more out of our pocket than we were expecting to keep this thing floating, which is fine. Again, we are still net positive, so I'm not worried about it, but we're not as net positive as we wanted to be. Okay, so if I had to do all over again, I would have waited till I had more cash. Okay, if I'm you, I would wait till I have a little bit more cash, or I have a much more of a home run type property. Okay, or you work with some kind of creative financing, things like that. There's all kinds of videos on that. Pace Morby, follow him for that. Okay, which we may end up doing. That being said, with all of that, where we are right now, looking at everything, I would have done a couple things different. The market slowed down a little bit. I'm getting busy at work, and it's the first time I've thought to myself, we may punt and just say, we're going to do this. We're going to do a little further down the road. So there you go. People who ask me all about the Airbnb and how great it is and this and that. It is great. I love that little house. It's awesome. I'm glad we did it. But, once we get into spring, we'll see where we are. It may be time to move on, but we'll talk about it. We'll document it the whole way. That was my promise. Good or bad, I was going to tell you about it. So there you go. So that's number 3. All right, fourth one, kind of not really real estate involved, but that's fine. Allison Fogarty, who's a friend of mine from church, she asked it, so I promised I would answer it. Who's my favorite saint? Okay, so I'm Catholic. So I came into the church back in 2015. So we're got a whole bunch of kids. We're living the Catholic faith. So who is my favorite saint? So Allison, my favorite saint, St. Augustine. He is my confirmation saint. We go to St. Monica's in Duluth. My wife prayed a lot to St. Monica, who is St. Augustine's mother. St. Augustine was a little bit of a troublemaker and a hellraiser, and he was a bad boy. Let's leave it at that. Before he had his conversion. And St. Monica was his mother, and St. Monica would pray and pray and pray and pray. She's a model of prayer and perseverance, as we like to say in church. So she prayed and prayed and prayed, and he had a major change and a major move towards his faith, and is really one of the top doctors of the faith. So his walk is similar to mine. I was not quite the hellraiser St. Augustine was before he was St. Augustine, but I definitely was not anywhere in my faith before I started to walk and kind of come into the church. And since coming to the church, much deeper in my faith. So St. Augustine has always been kind of that kind of guide for me as far as what I want to do. And kind of my growth in my faith, because it came from being nowhere near my faith to being very strong in my faith and raising our family in the faith, things like that. And a lot of things have happened around St. Augustine's feast day. That's another video for another day that y'all don't want to know about right now, trust me. But a lot of things have happened around St. Augustine's feast day that are like, wow, I can't believe that happened. There's a lot of really cool things. So for that reason, my favorite is St. Augustine, but man, St. Padre Pio is pretty darn cool too. I love reading the stories of St. Padre Pio and him growing up, and how he would throw people out of the confessional because he knew they weren't telling the truth, and he would just throw their butts out of there and say, "No, when you come tell me the truth, you come back and talk to me. Otherwise, hit the road." He wouldn't really say it like that, but Padre Pio is really cool. So between those two, but again, St. Augustine, that's my guy. Allison, you're awesome. Thank you, man. All right, so there's Ask Steve. 4 questions. 3 had a lot to do with real estate, and 1 did not. Hopefully, I answered all of them. If you have any questions about what we talked about and you want me to go deeper on any of that stuff, you can hit me the email below or 470-233-4409. We'd love to help out however we can. It's a crazy market right now. Whether you've got a short-term rental or you're just looking to buy a house or looking to sell a house or just trying to keep the faith. It's a crazy market right now. We're going to walk you through it. So let me know. Don't forget, like, subscribe. This is Steve. Appreciate your time. Y'all take care. Bye.